Invincible episode 4 is finally here, and I'm ready to give you guys the lowdown on what my thoughts were on the latest episode of Invincible, because last week the first 3 episodes debuted and I loved them to the point where I actually bought the first stack of comics for it so I could actually dive into the world myself. Now, if you guys are new here though, and you guys love Invincible just as much as I am, and you guys want to join in on that conversation every single week talking about this show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, because this is the channel for you guys on all sorts of TV, movie, games. This is the geekiest channel you can possibly jump into. As well as comment down below, let me know your guys' thoughts on this episode. What was your favorite moment? How did you feel about the twists and turns? So many dynamic things happen in here. And this will, for the most part, be a non-spoiler review. Just in case someone still doesn't know what Invincible is, or in general you haven't checked out the episode yet, this is your friendly reminder. Go check it out. Invincible episode 4 is here, and it's titled Neil Armstrong, Eat Your Heart Out. And this episode opens up with, of course, Omni-Man teaching Mark Grayson a little bit more about flying around. And they end up on Mount Everest, which was kind of a touching moment to see them, bonding a bit, especially if you kind of know and you saw what Omni-Man did in episode 1. There's a lot of different elements that I like how they are playing around with inside of there. And for the most part, this was a really good episode. Probably my second favorite episode yet to date. My favorite one still being probably episode 2, or maybe even 1, because the last 10 minutes of 1 is just absolutely phenomenal. But with that said, there's still a lot of cool things that are going about with Invincible, and the biggest thing about it is I feel like the animation really is so different each and every episode. Like, it builds upon the last one, especially a lot of the space sequences that we got inside this one. It was quite unique. Plus, the voice cast just continues to get... It's just perfect. Like, every single person in here is just perfectly placed in here. J.K. Simmons, Yeun, Sandra Oh, Zazie Beetz. There's a lot of great elements inside of there. And moving even further with inside this, of course, there was this thing with the mother who is now looking into who is this dark blood guy? Is he telling the truth? And we get that subtleness in here because for the most part, again, there's 3 different storylines, or 4 different storylines kind of going about in this episode. We have the Omni-Man stuff and dealing with his wife and dark blood. We have the Mark Grayson going to the Mars, and of course we also have the stuff going on with Robot and that cloned guy, where I'm assuming maybe they're working together, and even just going also from there, just some more subtle details kind of going about. But Sandra Oh's character, Debbie Grayson, is starting to really feel that there is something off with her husband. What is going on? And she's kind of felt that ever since Mark has gotten his powers. Seeing that how that kind of goes, we know that Omni-Man knows more than she thinks he knows, and of course he goes and plants that stuff in Dark Blood's office, all sorts of things like that, insinuates, and we see at the end of the episode what does happen to Dark Blood within him, and it sucks because I like that character, and I hope we get to see him again, and that last animation sequence of what does happen to him is quite awesome. I really liked how they brought to the life, and kind of reminisced to me some of the stuff that Del Toro did with Hellboy. Other than that, even though that character kind of reminds me of Hellboy a lot, we understand that the government does know what Omni-Man's doing. We understand that they know he's the one that probably killed the Guardians of the Globe. We know he did kill the Guardians of the Globe, but how are they going to figure this out? What is his motivations? And that's something us as audiences are still trying to figure out, is what is Omni-Man's plan here? And that's where I actually thought we were going to get to when, of course, Mark Grayson heads up to Mars itself. He's defending these astronauts, and of course, when they do end up meeting the Martians up there, there are some cool elements to there. Again, the animation all up there was really, really cool, and just the way that he kind of bounced around on the spaceship, just really unique. But of course, they're talking to the Martians, they're discussing this whole thing, what's going on this planet, many different elements there that I'm wondering if that does tie into later in the season, or maybe other things that could possibly come about. There's a lot of things they're setting up in this entire show, but they do it in a way that doesn't feel convoluted, and I really got to give them props when it comes to that entire establishment, because many shows like this could probably even do too much and it kind of overbowels. But I think in an animated format, especially when you get 44 minutes within each episode, there's a lot of important things that they can really dive into, and I appreciate that nonetheless. So of course on here he mentions, oh, I'm half like whatever Omni-Man is, and I was half expecting them and waiting for them to mention and say something like, oh, that's your species, that's who you are, this is actually what they do. They didn't do it that way. I'm wondering if it eventually will come down the line, but it's going to be really interesting to see, again, that revelation. And I'm wondering if, since the season's only 8 episodes, I think, if the last episode is kind of like Mark Grayson getting, okay, my dad's a dick, and there's he's the one who killed the Guardians of the Globe. I'm curious to see if that actually comes out, and that's like gonna be the giant cliffhanger that keeps us all on edge until episode or until season 2, because for the most part I'm pretty sure the season already got it renewed. I think when it comes down to Invincible episode 4, the final few moments are the biggest elements. Of course, we saw these things with Dark Blood, we saw the things happen with the Martians, but the last big thing that kind of ties into is, what is Robot doing and who is Robot working for? Now that is something that's kind of opening my eyes a little bit to everything kind of going about in here, and I'm kind of sitting there going, okay, there's some big things, and I like this character, but again, setting up different things for different characters and what is going on, who's going to be established, and how is this all going to tie into the rest of the story. The storyline I didn't get to discuss yet that I kind of want to jump back over to is Mark Grayson and his relationship with Sassy Beats character Amber Bennett. This is kind of a little cute thing, because I feel like their chemistry really works. Steven Yeun and Zazie Beetz' voices just work in sync, and it really does. You come to believe their relationship on screen when they go out on their little date and all sorts of things like that, and Mark really dealing with that issue of like being a hero and being a normal high school student as well. There's a lot of fun elements within inside there that I really much appreciate and how they're exploring, and I'm excited to see how the rest of it goes about, and especially if Amber Bennett does find out about his alter ego, that he is actually a Superman, and that his father's Omni-Man. That's going to be interesting to say the least, to see if that ends up going, but I really like the relationship in here, and I think they had a cute little date, and I liked how he brought back the giant chest to give her at the very end before he goes for 2 weeks up to space. I also really like how the parallel of this relationship and also seeing Omni-Man and his wife going and exploring and saying, hey, do you trust me? I need you to trust me. Then the dragon showing up and he goes, let them handle it. They can get paid. It's kind of funny because, again, Omni-Man is somewhat the Superman of this world, but he's not the Superman that we know and love. Said, Invincible episode 4 continues exactly with what we love about this show, what the first 3 episodes establish and what episode 4 is now diving into. I'm really into this show. Like, I absolutely love this show, and being able to watch it week to week is going to be one of my favorite things now to do. And I'm going to be curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this episode. Of course, we can talk spoilers down below in the comment section as well if you've already seen the episode. As I stayed a little bit vague on certain things because that is what the studio asked me to do. Thank you so much again to Prime Video for sending over the early screener of this episode 4. And in general, just thank you guys so much for clicking on this. I had a blast talking Invincible with you guys, and I can't wait to discuss it more with you guys in the comment section. And of course, throughout the rest of the season. So with all that said, guys, until next time, stay classy.